everyone. Thanks for joining me today. This is Carol from Practical Mystic. And every year I usually do a video on how the universal year is going to affect us. And I didn't do that this year. But then when I got up this morning and I saw that we are in a 2022 day, a whole 24 hours of it. And this is the second time this month that we have the twos really take preference in the month, the whole month of February, of course, as well as we are now in the zodiac sign of Pisces. I thought, okay, let me go ahead and throw out some information, throw out what is very pertinent for someone who loves numerology and astrology and the tarot, and I blend all that together, almost like a guidepost to guide us through the year that we are in. So today is very instrumental. Let's go ahead and just do a little bit of information about what 2022 is all about. Okay, when we entered the year 2000, folks, we entered a 100-year period where we will be beginning each year out with a 20. If we look at what 20 is correlating to the tarot, it is the Judgment card. Okay. The year that we are in, of course, in numerology, we not only take that universal year and how it is made up, but we also add it across, and we know that this year, last year was the Hierophant, this year it is the Lovers. What's important right now for us to, and everyone who's interested in understanding the numerology and the influence that universal years influence the collective, is that the Judgment card and the lessons and its interpretations is basically the umbrella that we are under for the next 78 years. We've been under the guidance, the influence of Judgment since the year 2000. We're just entering 22. So we have 70 more years of Judgment and everything that it has to say. In a nutshell, what is Judgment? Well, it's ruled by the planet Pluto, which again is quite making its mark on humanity, more so in the last, I would say, half a year, more so into 2022, especially around the new moon, which is going to be March 2nd, 2022. Pluto's going to make some interesting aspects. What is Pluto? Pluto is the planet of transformation, regeneration, and it basically helps us interpret what that Judgment year is. And we have the angel Gabriel sounding its horn to the three people, and Pluto is also kind of our wake-up call. Pluto is a planet really that is a higher octave of Mars, and it gets us out of our comfort zone. Those of you who've had Pluto go into your sun sign know this because it stays there for a long, long time. And it changes. It's just getting out of the sign Capricorn, and your world just, for the better, long run, but in the while it's happening, it's quite uncomfortable. Anyone who's interested in learning more about the planet Pluto, I do recommend a great book. I think it was Jeff Green, and it's the astrologer Jeff Green, and the book is Pluto, the Evolutionary Journey of the Soul. That is key. 2 is a number of the soul. So without further ado, let me go ahead and kind of give you a feeling of what the number 2 is. Okay, I use the system of Pythagoras, And Pythagoras, or Pythagoreans, those who study Pythagoras, say that number 2 was the number called audacity. And it was due to the fact that this was the first digit energy that separated from the divine number 1. But the word audacity, yes, seems to have like a somewhat negative connotation, but we gotta go beyond that, because all numbers are powerful, all numbers are neutral. It's how we work them. All numbers do have a positive side, and they have what we call the shadow. But the shadow, even though it is unknown or somewhat fearful, if you address the shadow, you evolve, you grow, you learn, you get rid of the fear that that shadow reminded you of and limited you in some way. So let's look at that word audacity in another way. And it really can mean the willingness to take a bold risk, independent of support or even knowledge of how everything is going to turn out. And today, I feel like that's what it's all about. Not to hunker down and be fearful or emotionally wrecked, because I do know we have been going through relationships ever since the year 2022 came in. And it's not only relationships with other people, but it's the relationship with yourself. If you do not care or value or nurture yourself, this is a tough year. And a lot of people are going within, doing the work, but some people are going within, hibernating, fearful, and sometimes that can become quite destructive. So I wanted to bring that energy of the number 2 at the forefront to say that it is getting out of your comfort zone, having the willingness to take risks, independent of what that risk may entail, which basically goes beautifully with the 22. Who took a better risk or a grander risk than the Fool card? So we can look at 2022 as the judgment, working through the inspiration, the exhilaration of saying, no matter what, I'm taking that leap of faith. No matter what, I'm going to find out what I'm made of. No matter what, I'm going to do this, even though it's uncomfortable. I'm not in agreement with my partner. I'm not in agreement with my belief systems or what I've been taught. And really what you are doing is reconciling that part of you that has been foreign, okay, which is what integration, which is what Carl Jung talks about, the integrated self. Let's look at that a little bit more here. All right, the Fool is known as a hermaphrodite, both male and female, and it is united. He is the inborn soul, the spirit, the Pluto, if you will. Now, in astrology, they give it Uranus, which we know has been a major planet of unbelievable change and shaking things up and revolutionary and expanding our consciousness, also getting out of our comfort zone, but it can be quite destructive at times as well. So we know that the Fool comes back as a perfect soul, clean, and is ready to experience another lifetime. Okay, So we have that for 2022. Now, let's go ahead and blend the core energies of 2022 and let's look at the similarities. We have Archangel Gabriel and then we have Archangel Michael. And Michael is known as the healer. Gabriel is the messenger, and there is healing here. Now, there is differentiations in the, I have to say, in the deeper interpretations. Let's go ahead and also talk about what I mean by that, going back to the integration that I spoke of earlier, having to do with the male-female gender. Okay. We know that in the Judgment card, we have the woman who is the subconscious, right? And man who is, there's the woman, man who is the self-conscious. They are both turning to, let's say, a heavenly body or an inspirational calling. And they are confirming that their dualistic nature has now been united. They're equal. They're both naked. They both have come out of the darkness, that shadow that we're all working on, and we're going to be working on it for 100 years and maybe more. Okay, but this is what this represents here. That dualistic nature has been unified, and it is neutralized through time, recognition of the soul and the higher purpose. And the emphasis now is on where do we go with this new consciousness. The lovers, which is where we are today, we see, as I said, Raphael, who is trying to heal us. And Raphael's hand is both of them are raised, almost like sending down, let's say, love, light, awareness, the sun, the radiant sun, which is behind him, coming down from Archangel Raphael. And basically, it is calling us to look into what our spiritual nature is, kind of leaving the mundane world alone, reflecting back at really what's important. And a lot of us have done that this year. And what we see is the man here hasn't gotten to the point where he's comfortable to do that. And he represents the conscious, and he knows that he's got to go into the unconscious. And that's basically why he's looking at the female. And the female knows that I have to, or anybody has to, go to the super consciousness, which is Raphael. And it's basically just telling you not that men or women are different, or that the woman is better than the male when it comes to doing self-evaluation, getting into the shadow work. No, it's just symbolic, where man represents consciousness, has to go through the unconscious, symbolized by the woman, and then the archangel is the super consciousness, and that is also the Fool card. The Fool card is super consciousness, and he has the white sun, the pure sun, which has not reached its zenith yet, and that lights his way to the darkness that he will be, or she will be, encountering as he travels the path. So I thought that was important to talk about, kind of give you a footing of what we have this whole year. Now let's talk about today. 2022, we are in a hangman year, or energy for the day. I apologize. I'm glad we're not in a hangman year. But number 12, which is what these numbers add up to, is the hangman. Now, the hangman astrologically has to do with the planet Neptune. Neptune really correlates today because we are in the sun sign of Pisces, and Pisces is ruled by Neptune. And where Neptune is in your chart right now is very important, as well as Pluto. So if you do have your astrological chart, take that out today to see what that influence is. And basically the hangman says to go where you haven't gone before, to get uncomfortable and let go, release what it is. I think the last week has been edging you to do. Today is a good day to purge. Excuse me. To reverse our thoughts, to maybe what the dream state has been telling us, those things that we have been getting messages on. Sometimes it's very symbolic, sometimes it's archetypal, but the dream state or something, sometimes something someone says that kind of shakes you a little bit and says, I wonder why they said that. Or the book that you're attracted to, or the movie that you're attracted to, or whatever tarot cards are coming up in your daily readings. I think it's going to hold the key here for the hangman and what that energy is today. Now, it's very Neptune, whatever word that is. And Neptune is also illusions and delusions. And because a lot of us are struggling with depression, with anxiety, then today is also important that you surround yourself with positive energy people. Talk to someone, do some journaling in your book, get out and walk with nature. I would definitely stay away from maybe doing some heavy inner work if you've been having some emotional problems, going through some relationship difficulties, some financial problems, which I do see also happening with a lot of us. And then lastly, what I wanted to give you before I wrap things up is those signs that I think for the next week will be feeling some of the powerful moon, high priestess energy that the twos are giving us. And of course, they are Pisces and Virgo, Scorpio and Taurus. And then we have Cancer and Capricorn. Those signs are in the limelight right now and will be probably for the next week. So just be aware. Know that this too shall pass. It is definitely a time that if it gets your attention, it is a time for growth. It's for finally cutting loose. It's for finally letting go of a habit, of a connection to some type of addiction, an abusive relationship, focusing more on taking care of self, understanding who you are, discovering who you are, integrating that opposite part of you that's a little foreign. And for those of us who have twos in our date of birth, there's always that tendency to give of ourselves. Number two considers others. It's not a number one where they take care of themselves and then take care of others. Again, there's no judgment there. It is a personality or a way that they conduct their lives. The number one can learn from the diplomatic and cooperative way of the number two, and the number two can learn from the independence and the self-care that the number one has. They do complement each other Today is that number 12. So important to understand both sides of a situation, both sides of a conflict, and looking for union, blending the two and saying, what can I learn from this? What is it in me that I have to balance and rectify even? Let me see the world from a different viewpoint and let go of any type of judgment, knowing that we're all in this together. All right, folks, I hope this is helpful. I wish everyone a wonderful day, an insightful day. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk again. Bye for now.